Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
How's it going?
Well, we're getting there.
So that's the real you.
Yeah, that's me.
Holy crap. It's about freaking time. That's all I have to say.
Ah, my wife's here too. She's just, like I said, still nursing a little bit of a headache. So
I understand. I'm recording this, then she can watch it at her leisure. How about that?
see if I can turn it. That's better. Yeah.
You have a kitty cat.
I do. That's a actually it's a hybrid. It's a Savannah cat.
Okay.
He's got he's a African serval and a domestic cat mixed.
Okay. I don't know what that means, but I'll take your word that he's a precious cat.
He is.
Okay, good to hear. How is your day going? Are you at I thought you said you were going to be at the office today.
We were, but like I said, she had a little bit of a headache, and we're still staying in our RV, and we wound up not realizing that today was our last day, so we had to go fix that before we didn't have a place to stay. So
Oh, I see. Is that the RV?
yeah, we're in the RV now. It's a pretty good one. It's like 45 foot. It's pretty big.
Nice. So are you renting it or do you own it?
No, we owned it. That's how we made the jump back to Tallahassee so quick. I remember from Tallahassee is we just packed up and came here and said we'd live in the RV until we got ourselves on our feet. But what happened was we weren't sure where the office we were going to get was at. So when we rented this site, we're technically about almost 45 minutes to an hour from the office.
Oh,
And so we were attempting to get to a closer RV park until we can get a house. However, we didn't realize that we've been so busy that our basically we had paid for our stay and that was ended. So we had to go extend it or we wouldn't have had a place to stay today. So
got
uh,
it. And it's a good
other than
thing it
that,
was still available.
yes, other than that, everything's okay.
Okay, good to hear. Actually, it's always been my dream to build a land yacht to get a motorhome pusher diesel and convert it to a land yacht. And I actually played with it. I actually converted an old school bus when I had the flooring stores. Because buying a truck, I was looking at, even a used one, 25, $35,000 back then.
Yeah,
But I could buy a used school bus for around $1,500, $2,000, right?
interesting. Yeah,
So what I did was I sent it to a buddy of mine who was a welder. He cut off the back and put two barn doors in, and it became my truck. And then I painted it pink because we were about to open our fifth store, and we needed some publicity for the grand opening. So I painted it pink, created like what do you call it? Like channels. I put area rugs inside, put plexiglass. I created an angle iron, then I could drop the plexiglass to protect the area rugs, and parked it close to the street because the city would not allow me to have signage close to the street. But because it was a licensed truck, they could do nothing about it, right? So we
yeah,
had we had about 50,000 vehicles passing by the store every day, and there was a small tree that kind of covered the sign, which kind of pissed me off. But you can't cut down the tree, right? Just because nobody can see the sign. But everybody could see a pink school bus, and
yeah.
then I tried to get permission from the landlord to put a 25-foot pink gorilla on the roof. You know those inflatable gorillas?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He would not give me permission. So guess what? I built a platform on top of the bus and I put the gorilla on top of the bus. right? So now I've got a pink.
Sounds like either you've been reading from Trump or Trump's been reading from you. He did something similar to his flag in Margot Law. I don't know if you ever heard that story,
No, I
but
haven't.
yeah, President Trump, who owns Margot Law Bar, has had a flagpole in the front that exceeded West Palm Beach's
Standard,
standard height.
right?
So they were fining him, but the height defined it from the ground, not from any particular height, just from the ground up.
Oh, I see.
So
So he increased the ground.
he went and had a mound of dirt brought in, huge,
That is
30 feet high,
brilliant.
30 feet high, and stuck the freaking pole on top and said, now find me.
That is brilliant.
Yep.
Is
Yep.
it still standing today, though?
It does still stand today.
That is brilliant. You know, I admire people who don't take bullshit from anyone and make their own rules,
Yeah, yeah. He's
right?
like, no problem. If that's the way it works, we'll work with that.
That is brilliant. I'm going to use that.
Yeah, he's an interesting man. I've been watching this documentary that doesn't really. He didn't have any say in it. It was a lot of White House footage and stuff. But it was funny one time when they were really hitting him hard, and he looks over at his daughter and he says, well, if they're hitting me this hard, I must be doing something right, huh? He didn't even take it as a bad thing. He just
Yeah,
like, I guess if they're coming at me this hard, I must be doing something right.
yeah, yeah. It's
Anyhow, yeah.
confirmation. Yeah.
It's,
The
but
other
it's funny to say that because I can relate. When I first started my business, the name of my company was Mahaffey Construction and Repair. That was just a one man operation. I made my letters bright yellow on the side of my trailer, and then we actually over time got a couple logos. One of them I trademark in the state of Florida. It's We Show Up. I only have it in the state of Florida, but I own the trademark for We Show Up because every time I show up to usually, like I said, these general contracting jobs, like I'm looking at one right now. The guy had a fire in there. It's a complete gut because of the smoke. He's been 12 months. He hasn't found somebody to do the job.
wow.
12 months.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah,
I've been hearing shit like that for 40 years,
yeah, but
and I
it's the
can't
stuff
believe it's still happening.
yeah, it's the stuff people don't want to mess with. They don't want to mess with a fire. They want to build a brand new thing. They don't want to go in and gut it, and I have to encapsulate I have to spray all the freaking wood and paint it so it doesn't smell. There's a lot to do when you have a fire,
Yeah, but who
and
cares? The client's paying for it, right?
that's the way I look at it. I mean, I don't know what I did. Okay. Yeah, that's the way I look at it. I look at it as, hey, they're paying. Who cares? And you know, most people run from remodeling because they fail to qualify their estimate properly. And what happens is they wind up getting in an argument with their client because their client's like, I don't know. I thought you had it all. And they're like, no, I didn't have what was in the wall. I don't have x-ray vision. Well, you don't know that. Well, we don't know either. You know, but if you put in there, I've got this, I don't have this, I have this, I don't have this, you know, I think it's all about qualification because, I mean, usually even when people say, oh, shouldn't you have that? I go, let's go back and read what we agreed to. Give me a minute. And I'll let you know.
Right.
And usually I come back and say, well, I did read our scope and no, we didn't include that. I already know the answer, but I try to at least calm them down and say, let me check. I could be wrong. Let me go back and read. But you know, and then the second thing we got was there was a time when got milk was a big thing.
Right. Remember that.
So we took that because we were a remodeling company and all over our trucks we put got wood. And of course it got attention. I mean, there goes the got wood truck.
Yeah, I like that. You didn't get any negative comments from women?
You know, we really didn't. Most people
No?
laughed. Yeah, most
Okay.
people. Now, you're talking 15 years ago. Times have
Right.
changed.
Yeah.
So that might be very tough to pass off right now. But back
Yep.
then, yeah, it was funny. Yeah,
Actually, going further, let me just finish that story. So for that grand opening, I really had to make it pay off because we were into 15,000 square feet, and the rents were outrageous. And if that grand opening didn't go off as a huge success, I would go bankrupt because I put a lot of money into 15,000 square feet.
I
Most of
bet.
the other stores were, 1,500 or 2,500 square feet. This one was over 10,000, and
Oh,
it didn't even have a landing dock. I had to build like a conveyor belt with a winch to bring the carpet rolls in on a almost a 60-degree angle from the truck down below, right?
wow.
So even though it was on the main floor, it was an elevated main floor because the slope, by the time it got to my side of the building, um, we were already 12 feet high.
Sure.
So and the steps going up and so on. So what we did was this was a time when they had just passed a law saying it was legal for women to go topless on the beach, right? So I wanted to test that, right? So I called the police on myself, saying, this is outrageous. These people are thinking of having topless women at their grand opening. We don't put up with this crap, right? I want you to stop this, right?
Sure, you didn't work for Trump.
So, anyways, the media shows up, and the mayor was scheduled to be there as well, right? So the mayor's office is calling and say, you're going to have topless. We cannot have the mayor involved with topless women. If you're going to do this, we're not involved. Oh, no, 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 that's a rumor. That's not going to happen. And so I was trying to keep the mayor there, have the police show up, and have all the media show up, and so it went off, got a huge publicity stunt. There was no topless women, but the fact that I said there were going to be, the media showed up, and it was a huge success. So I keep talking about, when was the last time you nearly got arrested for a publicity stunt?
I haven't. I haven't. But you do remind me of some good things that I've seen publicity. Ironically, back in the late '80s, in Fort Lauderdale, these hot dog girls were making a fortune standing out in these little tiny skimpy bikinis.
Nice.
The mothers finally got ordinances to stop them, but every guy and his brother would stop and buy a freaking hot dog at the. I mean, there was one on every corner. And it was like a strip show going. It was on Pompano Beach. I never forget. But you go down this one industrial road, and there was a freaking every other street. There was another, hot dog girl out there in her skimpy bikini, and they were loaded up, getting and making money. But yeah, it's sort of funny, bad controversy, good controversy. If you ever watch the movie about Elvis, I mean, there's a point where they pull out a shirt and say, "I hate Elvis," and they go, "I hate Elvis," and he goes, "They buy too, don't they?" And they
Mhm.
all smiled and said, "Yeah." And then they sold "I hate Elvis" along with "I love Elvis" right side by side.
Yes. Yeah, you create opportunities. I'm a firm believer you create opportunities.
I believe that. I do.
So,
We've just had a lot of challenges. We're not quitters, but it's been tough on everybody. I mean, like I said, we're living in an RV right now, but I had to get to some place that had work. I said, if it's an RV, then it's an RV. Well, I mean, we bought it. It's no different if we were camping in it for a few weeks or a month. So we had to get the office somewhat up and running, but it's still having challenges with my server. But hopefully that'll be fixed Monday. But
okay, I understand where you're coming from. Um, so do you have internet connection on the RV, or are you using cell phone data?
I have both.
Okay,
I'm using the internet right now, so
okay. So you get internet as part of electrical and water and
oh
sewer
yeah,
and stuff. Okay.
it's
Um,
pretty reasonable actually. It's just that it's a little crowded. I mean, we have three dogs and a couple cats, and my son was living with us, so
okay.
I'll sit up. So I mean, there's three of us in here, so it's a little crowded, but what am I doing here? I keep putting my finger in front of something, but it's a little crowded, but
You're
we were
you're making it work.
we're making.
Actually, when I was younger, I mean, I put all the money into my first real estate, um, and put all the money into, designing and building the construction business. And at one point, we got a warehouse for the flooring, and the construction business. And I thought, why am I wasting all this time traveling back and forth to the office? So we decided to move into the office, right? And I figured, okay, if I'm going to spend 14 hour there, here, and I'm only going home to sleep, I'm going to turn one of the offices into a bedroom. And sure enough, that's what we did.
That's
Saved
interesting.
a saved a ton of money, got away from traffic, and that's when we started franchising. So we wanted to focus on franchising, and yeah, I what you got to create the opportunities. I feel, and you got to minimize your costs when you're trying to grow a business.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and again, I know you don't like to get into a long, story of stuff, and I get that because there's only a limited amount of time. But I didn't have a lot of money growing up. In today's standard, I would be considered a poor child, but I didn't feel poor growing up. I had food, I had a roof over on my head, I had a clean house. It didn't feel poor to me. But if you compared it to today's standards and what kids have now, yeah, I was poor.
Mhm.
But the irony of all that is that I did start to make money. Like I said, we started doing commercial, and I had a full time business development. I have a part time marketing guy chasing straight up commercial work, doing jobs anywhere from 500,000 to 1 million each. And we had a beautiful office. Things were kicking up good. Why I mentioned I was, more or less poor is, when you start making money and you've never had it, you really don't know what to do with it.
Right.
And so, unlike me investing in myself, I had a lot of fun. And, I now see that because I have two buddies, two guys I know, Rick Mansell, and then another guy that happens to own another, Eddie Huggins. These two gentlemen, 25 years ago, partnered as partners. 6 months later, they split and went their separate ways. Eddie Huggins owned airplanes, fancy cars, you name it. Rick Mansell drove a pickup truck. Rick Mansell just sold out for 28 million. Eddie Huggins just went bankrupt.
Mhm. I
So,
hear that all the time. I also
so
hear, Leo, I'm going smaller because I used to make a lot more money when I was smaller.
yeah,
But to me, that doesn't make any sense because I've been in the construction industry now for over 40 years. I started when I was 17 years old. See, to me, that makes no sense. That is just proof that a company who made more money when they were smaller is not designed properly, right? Because when you think about it, with economies of scale, when you have office staff, right? When you have the software, when you have the systems and procedures, right? Now you can handle more work. So now the extra work is on the overhead of the first 3 million. So when you make the second 3 million, your overhead doesn't increase that much. So your profit margins should increase, assuming that you're using software, assuming that you're using proper procedures
right.
and so on, right?
Now, I,
Because
I,
go ahead.
I agree. I agree with you. I'm probably, I'm not using proper procedure or not having it, but many of us say that because I can tell you from past history. Now, again, my systems may not be properly in place. They probably are not. But the bottom line is I feel we hit what I call the death zone, the zone between big and little, where your overhead starts to eat the hell out of you like a big company, but you're not quite yet bringing the revenue in to cover it.
Mhm.
And
So
that,
you did it back asswards,
go ahead.
Tim. You did it back asswards.
That's what
Okay.
it feels like. Yeah.
Yeah, you did. Because in order to grow, and I've been analyzing companies now for 40 years, and the first thing we do is look at financials. The first thing we do when we're looking at estimates is figure out how the estimate is broken down. How are you applying the overhead burden to each job? And so far, most companies, 95% of companies do it incorrectly, right? Because they add it as a percentage. Well, you can't add it as a percentage and be accurate. You're guessing. If you're happy with guessing, then fine. But this, I believe this explains why 96% of companies go bankrupt. 96% of companies never see their 10th birthday because they don't know how to apply and calculate their overhead burden. Actually, if you watch one of my videos on YouTube that talks about this, a 5-year-old company that grew to $5 million in 4 years, was doing a ton of work, and they had the first employee. This is how critical it is. The first employee, and this was a young guy. The first employee was a bookkeeper. Okay, a bookkeeper. Then the bookkeeper, after 6 months or 7 months or whatever that was, said, well, there's really a lot of stuff that I don't know. I'm just a bookkeeper. We should hire an accountant. Sure enough, an accountant's on board. Then the accountant says, you know, we really should prepare and minimize our taxes, right? Because, or else you're going to be paying a huge amount of taxes. So, sure enough, a tax strategy lawyer became a consultant for the company. So, 3 people in the office, and long story short, when my team and I were looking at the projects, because even with 3 people in the office, they never compared budgeted to actual in 4 years. They never compared
Oh,
budgeted to actual.
I can believe that. And,
Okay.
we,
Sorry, Tim. Let me finish the story.
okay.
Um, then, then by the time I came in, for about 4 years, he kept, the bookkeeper would write him a paycheck. And he sent me, he showed me a stack of paychecks that he could never cash because there was never enough money in the bank account, right? So even though he was making $5 million, he was paying everyone else first, and there was never enough money to pay him. And he was the one taking all the risk. Okay. We found that out within about 3 hours of looking at his financials. These people, these 3 experts, were in the company for 4 years and couldn't figure it out. Right. But this is a problem we see on, I would say, 95% of the companies. I guarantee you, I will find it in your company.
Oh, I don't doubt it. I
Okay.
don't doubt it at all because I have sat down and tried to do it. And like I said, you try to create a budget and you try to allocate each line to where it should go and what, and you think that you're going to have this much. One of the reasons why I like GC work so much is because a lot of your overhead in many of other companies, service industries like roofing or, AC. I listen in GC world, the supervisor is a job cost. The project manager is a job cost. No job, no supervisor. No job, no project manager. Those all get allocated to the general conditions of the project. So, you know, you don't do that in roofing. You have supervisors that run 20, 30 jobs, and it's just part of your percentage, as you said, you know. And so GC world is a lot easier to allocate more of those things, not all of them, but more of those, what we call percentage or overhead to actual job costs that are not real overhead. But, we run pretty freaking lean. I mean, I'm living in an RV and we're still treading water, and that's why I need help. But
Yeah.
I will leave you with this. The guy that sold for 28 million, I asked him one day, I go, Rick, let me ask you a question. First, he smiled at me and said, don't ask. And I smile. I say, "Come on, man." He says, "Well, I ain't gonna tell you how I do it, but," he says, "I will tell you this." And I says, "Well, I need an estimator." He says, "Well, then hire an estimator." So I can't afford an estimator. And his exact words were to me, "You will never afford an estimator until you hire an estimator." Plain and simple.
Hmm.
This was the
In
guy
in
from.
other words, rephrase that statement. In other words,
I need an estimator to make more money.
right. In other words, you're cheating yourself,
Yes.
right? The
So
construction industry is the most profitable industry consistently since 1920. There is absolutely no reason for you to be in the position that you're in. Absolutely none.
I held two state licenses, man. I mean, I'm.
Yeah, but no, that's bullshit. Tim, sorry, that's the contracting side. Okay, you are the expert on the contracting side. I'll give you that. But we're not talking about the contracting side. We're talking about the business side of the business. Okay.
A lot of
Licensing has nothing to do with the business side of the business.
I understand what you say because I've tried to do some of the things you talk about. Like I give you an example. You mentioned the other day that you had to overqualify this lady to get her to where she's at. Well,
Right.
in a way, we did that when we were back south. It was funny, but I only had one truck, but I numbered it 30. And that truck drove all over the town. And I can't tell you how many people told me, "Man, I see your trucks everywhere." And I just smile and go, "Yeah." And I just keep going. And people thought we were huge. I mean, huge. And we were working out of some little warehouse.
Okay.
So I do understand it. It's just I got to find a way to get it out there on a bigger scale.
Right. Tim, with due respect, can we agree that understanding and implementing are worlds apart?
Absolutely.
Okay. Understanding and implementing are worlds apart.
Sure.
And even
Words and
though,
actions.
sorry,
Words and actions. I understand.
yeah, but not not as a cliche. I'm talking about implementation. Even the 1% deviation, okay? Again, if we were to ask 1,000 people to read my favorite book or your favorite book, right? And they read it line by line, word by word at the same time, there there's going to be 1,000 interpretations of that book because everything goes through our history filter. Okay. It goes through our ego, right? So when I say, Tim, you need to do some marketing, Tim hears, yeah, I tried that. It doesn't work. Okay. Because it's going through your history filter. Because you tried marketing, you tried pay per click, you tried a website, you tried hiring quality employees, you tried, right? But you tried the wrong way, right? And that's
Okay.
why it doesn't work, right? Because our egos prevent us from hearing what people are saying. Remember broken telephone in school? The
Yeah.
reason why it's funny is because there's so much truth in it, right? Even a simple game like a kid's game where you tell one story, the next kid tells a story, tells us the same story to 20 people down the line, it's a different story altogether, right? Because
Yeah.
what we think we hear and what was said are never the same. Okay.
I agree.
So, and this is the problem that, most people say, Leo, give me some advice. Well, advice on what? And what I tell you, you're not going to hear it. And if it was advice that you really needed, the internet is full of advice. Why do you need me to give you advice? Right? All you have to do is do a Google search. You've got advice coming out of your Yahoo, right? It's not advice you need, right? Just like the lady who wants a custom home. Does she say, Leo, teach me, or Tim, teach me how to design and build a custom home? No, she just wants a custom home built, right? And your job is to hire an architect, create a vision, and build her dream custom home. That's my job too, is to figure out what you want. You want a $5 million kitchen renovation company, a $5 million painting company, landscaping company. Then we design it for you. We show you the key and say, here's how you put the key in the lock, turn it this way, the door opens this way, right? So it's not advice that you need. You need, a well-designed business. Then you need to be taught how to run that business, or your employees need to be taught how to do their section in that business.
I,
Okay.
I agree with you. I don't know how to get there, but I agree with you. I think a business is just like a machine, and if you set it up right, it should just run smoothly. But that's my issue, is how to get there.
Okay. So can we agree you are in the most profitable industry?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
the guy I worked for started at 8 million. He did 450 last year. Yeah,
But
he's doing pretty well.
okay. So in Florida or where?
Yeah, South Florida. Kaufman Lynn, Mike Kaufman,
Okay.
450 million. Anderson Moore did 120 million. I worked for them. Purtle Construction. These are all people I work for. One job was 250 million. They sold. Their average job's 150 million.
So are you more comfortable in commercial, or you want to do residential as well?
God thing. My background is mostly commercial. I'm very strong in structural. I'm very strong in scheduling. But oddly, I get sucked into the residential zone. It seems to come to me. I don't know if I think it's easier, faster to sell, easier to get money to come faster. I don't know what's driving me there, but if you ask me what my expertise is, it's actually commercial. But I
Okay.
do a lot of residential.
But commercial kills your cash flow unless you really design a payment schedule.
Exactly. See, I can get a deposit up front on a residential. I can, with cash flow. And that's one of the reasons why I sort of like roofing for a while, because it's quick. I mean, in and out, make quick cash. In fact, we're trying to push roofing right now because we just moved here, not because we want to, because I just want to generate some cash flow so I can focus on what I really want to do, and that is residential or light commercial. I made my most money when I did commercial. I probably had a couple $500,000 years where we did, like, I did a strip center for like right at 1 million. I built a 20,000 square foot antique gallery for 1.5. I did like this giant bar for 1.2. Another strip center we added on to 400,000. I did a bunch of little Great Clips franchises for like 160, 200,000. So that's what we were doing probably when I did my best. But I didn't do bad as residential neither when I was doing, additions. We did tons of additions. Uh, it just seems like the roofing, it turns so fast that you just have to turn so much volume. It's like you got to sell 20, 30 roofs a month to maintain, and then that takes an army almost. It feels like it does. Maybe it doesn't, but it certainly does when you have, anywhere from, if you had 30 roofs a month, you're going to have 90 to 120 inspections. You're going to have, 60 to 90 material orders, and then you've got to go by and check quality control on all them. It can be, it just takes all. And then, I mean, you got permits. That's 30, 40 permits a month to pull. So it takes, quite a bit of people, and then you've got to do accounts payable and receivable on all those too. So, it just, the staff, I could run $5 million worth of GC work with 5 people. Try doing $5 million worth of roofing with 5 people. You'll jump off a building.
Yeah, but
Unless,
5 people plus subs, right?
yes, five people plus subs.
Right.
Yes, I'm
Um,
subbing that, but I'm not worried about, well, I can't find the material as a GC. That's the subs problem, not mine. I hired him. He needs to go work it out. just as I do as a roofing contractor. I'm not worried about this, the crew that didn't show up today. That would be the subs problem. So it is less to manage. That's all.
Hmm. So do you want to do more project management work?
I like that kind. I think that the pro or construction management I think is easier unless we built a team. I mean, roofing pays well if you have it set up right. I just can't seem to set it up right where it just feels like we can't catch up. We're constantly working like crazy. And then every once in a while we run short on money, and I haven't been able to establish any credit accounts, so I got to pay for everything cash.
Hmm.
So it just seems like it's a harder trade to run for me right now. Now, maybe it's just because I'm running it wrong. I don't know.
Okay. Well,
I didn't come from a roofing world. I came from a GC world that got a roofing license. So, you know, I've my entire career until even 10 years after I became my own business, I was a GC. I've been 23 years. I've been in business. Probably only had my roofing license 7 to 10 years. I'd have to check, but I've had my
okay.
GC license for 23 years, and I've been either working for a GC. I mean, another 10. So, I mean, I got at least like 20, 25 years of general contracting before I even started, you know, looking at roofs individually.
Right. Okay, so let's jump forward 5 years. It's now 2028. What are you doing?
I think I wrote in but I know there's a lot of stuff I wrote, but I think that, one vision I have is, I think people, if I'm going to stay in the residential market, I think people, you know, are challenged a lot not knowing where to go. And especially if you're going to add on to a house or even a small commercial, many of these people don't have plans. And they call me, they don't know what to do. Like I said, I'll draw it up on a hand sketch and then send it to them and say, is this something, close to what you want? And then if it does, then I work a conceptual price out, telling them it could change, if the architect adds something. But I've done this long enough that usually it's pretty accurate. And I'm just looking to try to be that missing piece where, a lot of people don't know where to go. I mean, I've thought of a design center where one-stop shop design, GC work, siding, windows, doors, sort of like Home Depot, except I'm not taking it and adding 35% to the contractor's price. And, we're actually managing it where Home Depot is simply straight out subbing it because I worked for them for a few years. And in fact, I was the guy pulling the permits for them. But, I mean, the commercial world's nice, but that's different. You have to wait 60, 90, 120 days. I mean, we've done a little bit of everything. I've done millions of dollars worth of grant work. I mean, when the housing market crashed, they dumped millions and millions into the economy for stimulus money, CDG grants, NSP grants, SHIP grants. They even had a COVID grant not too long ago. We did $350,000 worth of roofs with West Palm Beach. That was they gave West Palm Beach $18 million for COVID stimulus money. So we went after the roofs. We won about 350,000. A lot of that money goes to building brand new homes, which I'm more than capable of being in that mix as well. But again, they don't give you any money up front. I mean, even the custom home building, and if they're getting a loan, the bank's going to give you money when they'll give you a draw payment as you get things done. Typically, I haven't seen too many people give anything, for a deposit or anything. So you got to somewhat either front it or have credit. So some of that has been my limitations of why I haven't went in those directions, not because I don't want to. It's like, okay, how long can I go, with no income, even though we're working to get there and eventually we'll get paid. But how long can I make it before I run out of anything to run on?
Mhm.
So I
Did
think
you,
that's what pushed me into the residentials because it's just easier to get cash.
Tim, did you answer my question? Where do you want to be in 5 years?
Oh, wow.
You need to focus, dude.
I would like to have a company that's running smoothly. Be nice to be at the 5 million mark. It's hard to answer that question because you're right. My brain wants to go residential, but
Okay, so
if I knew a way, I'd probably say a commercial contractor.
okay,
That's the people I know that are winning, and that's what I know most. But I guess my brains keeps telling me that's a hard path to travel.
okay. What do you think a business owner, a construction business owner needs? What kind of skill does he need?
Well, he definitely needs to know how to manage money. Um, it's different. Construction owner versus, I think like a guy that runs a job. So
The guy
I,
that runs the jobs, that's your employee. That's the
yeah, I
project
know,
manager, right?
I know.
Yep.
I just do a lot of that. So um, I would have to say, I don't know. For me, I mean, right off the bat, I would think you need some kind of capital, but uh,
No, skills.
skilled,
Capital is
skilled,
not skill.
skilled. Okay, skilled. I would say leadership skills, management skills, uh,
Visionary skills,
yeah, vision.
motivational skills.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Do you possess those?
I think I'm visionary. I think some of my fears keep me from going there.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I've always had a dream of having a company where nobody wants to leave, and only if they retire or die does somebody get a new job. I always thought of making, oddly, I need money, but I don't count my dollars every day to drive. If I did, I probably wouldn't be doing this right now. So uh, it's a weird thing. I can't explain it, but it's almost like a drug. It doesn't matter how bad or how hard it gets, I can't seem to stop.
Can I tell you a quick case study?
Yeah.
Um, we worked with a contractor who immigrated here from Ireland. So brand new in the country, ambitious, and we work with them to create, you know, to overqualify him. And landing in the country, how many reviews do you have? Zero. How many clients do you have? Zero. Um, so we worked very hard and we knew that that was a huge setback. So, and we always tried to take negatives into positives. So the fact that he didn't have any reviews, we designed the company around that. Um, After about 6 months, clients were finding him, were looking for him. After 6 months, he was not taking on any projects. He wouldn't even consider a project under $500,000. He would not consider them. Today, his projects run an average of about $1 million. Okay. So in 3 years, he does not look at projects under $800,000 now. Okay. So, but we focus on creating advantage, even unfair advantages. So the question, we're coming back full circle now. How is Tim overqualified?
Hmm. I feel like saying, the typical things, I mean, 36 years in the business, and, I 2 state licenses, passed my first license in 86. Some people can't pass it after 6 times, but I do have a unique ability that a lot don't, and that is I can visualize things before they're built. I can look at a plan, I can walk through that building in my head finished. A lot of people can't. It's very difficult
Okay,
sometimes.
so you are a great project manager. We're
I
not
am.
talking about that. We're talking about Tim as the business owner.
Okay, business owner. I don't know where to begin. Um,
Because look at your results. Either you're happy with the results or you're not happy with the results. Can
well,
we
I'm not
agree?
happy.
Okay, can we agree we are the sum of our decisions? The 5 million decisions you've made over the last couple of years
Oh
have
yeah, on
brought
me.
you to where you are today, correct?
Absolutely. I'm accountable for that. Absolutely.
Okay. So we are a product of our decisions.
Sure.
Okay. Do we need to make better decisions?
Yes.
Okay. How are you making decisions?
Uh, most of it's reactive.
Okay. Can I help you with that?
Sure.
The way Tim will be trained to make decisions is before he makes a decision, he looks at statistical data. He looks at his business blueprint that we took, a year, 2 years to build. He looks at it. He looks at his policy procedure manual. He looks at all those different things that prove to him the decision he's about to make is the correct one, and here's the data to prove it. Business decisions are made in less than 8 seconds, and they're accurate. How do we know that? Because we have statistical data, some of it going back 85 years, some going back whatever amount of time, but we make decisions based on what has worked for other companies. And here's the data to prove it. Okay. We don't make gut decisions. Okay. Because the gut is wrong 96% of the time.
I can believe that. I will tell you that my most successful years, again coming back to the commercial, was probably the most organized my company had ever been. I really did have professional people. I mean, people that would work at these multi-million-dollar firms working for me. I mean, I had a full-time business development. He came to work every day in a suit and tie. I had a guy that worked at he was one of the top marketers in for some New York magazine. This guy was a genius. He could get anything he wrote, they would put in the newspaper. Anything for free.
Right. That's PR
This,
work.
this guy was incredible how, I mean, he could get me free press. But we had a policy book. In fact, they made me them too. We created an employee manual with policies and procedures. That all sort of blew apart.
Do
And
you still have that policy and procedure manual?
I do. It's not under my name, but I still have the book. Yeah.
So it's a book. It's not digital.
I could probably put it on a PDF.
I would like to see it because, see, policy and procedure either motivates or the employees look at it and say, here's another way that this company is trying to control me. So either it motivates or creates a prisoner, right? It should be designed to motivate.
I agree. And, for some reason, I always thought that, money is just what motivates people. But,
Money is the worst motivator possible. And I keep hearing you say you overpay your people. You don't understand why they're not
well,
motivated because you pay higher than industry wages. That's not motivation, that's
well,
bribery.
right. Yeah. And I'm understanding that now. I mean, again,
Good.
like I said, I've had a few people come at me saying it's all about your leadership. And I'm going, what am I not doing right? I will get in the trenches with the guys and work side by side with them. I will give them this, give them that. This is me talking to someone, and they're like, no, it's the environment. And
The
when someone
culture, the culture.
said that to me, I finally got it, and I'm going to tell you why. I work for a company by the name of West Construction, $150 million a year company. I could stay there as long as I want. Probably the worst company I ever worked for in my life because they didn't pay their subs, but they expected me to get their job done on time. I'm like, people don't show up when you don't pay them. And I finally took a year of it and I said I had enough. And then I left. And it wasn't for the money. It was because I was tired of fighting a fight I just couldn't win. And I'm not bad at what I do, but when you take away my, weapons, I can't win, you know, and, or my resources or whatever. So, I think I understand, it's more than just money. It's, people want to feel good about coming to work and inspired and maybe see the vision. And, some people care about holidays. Some people care about time with their family. And some people care about, everybody not being pissed off at work. It's not a negative an atmosphere. My wife and I have a real tough problem of not, we're very loving and caring, but when we're in our office and we're working, we're not real approachable. And not on purpose, just we're busy.
Mhm.
But we both have
Busy being
recognized,
productive or busy being busy?
hopefully productive, but maybe a little of both.
Mhm.
But the bottom line is that people, we have found that in the past most people don't come in our office because they don't feel comfortable doing so.
Mhm.
So we've obviously created some kind of environment that makes them feel that way.
Right. Okay.
So I'm very intimidating. Don't mean to be, but I seem to be. My wife can be. But then when we're not working, we're like the nicest, go friendly people there are.
Well, is it because you're under a lot of pressure?
Yes.
Okay. And how many people do you have today?
Currently, we have my wife, my son, me, and I got one other guy working for me. So four of us.
Is that the office?
That's everything.
That's everything.
I mean, we have some crews that I can use, sub crews, but being that I just moved to Orlando, I haven't had a time to even look at a staff. My first thing I need to get if I'm going to focus on remodeling or custom homes or anything like that, I have to get an estimator. There's no way for me to develop work and estimate it. I can't do both.
Right. Have you looked at estimating software?
I haven't looked at the software. I have been approached by people that do estimating, but every time I ask them if they do conceptual, I don't get an answer back because that's where I win most of my stuff is because people don't have plans. And, most of these people that want to give you an estimate or will service, they will, you got to give them a set of plans. I don't know if the software will do conceptual, but a lot of times we don't have anything to work with. They just want a 12 by 30-foot bedroom with a bathroom. That's what they tell you. And you've got to take it from there.
Hmm. Okay.
Not
How many?
not necessarily we have to do that, but I'm telling you, if I'm chasing that market, a lot of them don't, unless I'm getting to in front of a architect or engineer that's in the middle of drawing these things and catching these people at design, then that's another place I can chase. But I haven't had time to even go meet these people.
Okay, so you don't have a lot of connections with architects and draftspeople and
Not in this area, no,
no.
no.
Okay.
We
Can we?
still get work. We still get work. Check this out. We have been pulled out of West Palm and Port St. Lucie for about almost 2 years now. I still get probably every week one or two phone calls from work that just comes in automatically there. I've been taking it because we need the work, but man, it sucks to have to run work in Palm Beach when you're in Orlando. I can tell you that. But
Right.
what do you do if you ain't got nothing else? You take what you got. So
Right. Okay. Last question. Are you and your wife able to unlearn so you can learn the right things?
I believe so because I'll take accountability for my mistakes. I know I'm not doing something right.
Okay.
So
Do you
what do I got to lose? Really. I mean, it ain't working. So what do I got to lose?
okay. Do you want some help, Tim?
Yes.
What kind of help do you want?
How to run a business.
Do you think we might be the right people to help you?
From what I hear, yes.
Okay. How do you
Because,
want me to
because
help you?
I like what you say. You say it made sense to me. I noticed you didn't like the word coach, and I'm okay with that. I get that because I wouldn't like to be called a coach. I'm not a coach. I'm a contractor. And you're right. I don't teach people how to build their house. I build their house.
Right.
So when you explain it that way, it makes a lot of sense. I'm like, okay, so you're telling me you're not going to tell me how to do it. You're going to build it and show me how to use it. And I'm like, well, if I can't get a partner, that's the next best thing. And my worry about a partner is then now you got trust, and now I got to split it and give all the money away. And not that I'm afraid to do that, even to a certain extent, but you know, um, you got to make sure you're with. I mean, I've also, again, like you said, I have memory things. Well, I've also had money embezzled from me, a lot of money. So um, again, those are memory bank things that I got to push through. But yeah, I need some kind of business help. We don't have really any kind of budget. Now, I talk about this all the time with these guys that are out there telling everybody they're making all this money in the roofing. I'm on all these roofing websites like you are and Facebook. And I'm like, I bet you 80% of them have not sat down and figured out if they've made any profit. They're just running cash flow.
Yep.
I guarantee you, if the wall stopped today, let's say the work stopped, that they'd all hit the wall doing 100 miles an hour and crash. They have no clue while they drive around their $100,000 trucks and their, fancy tires and all this other stuff. I go, they have no clue. I said, I do try to watch the money, but I just don't have a good enough system to keep a good enough eye on it. My wife has managed the books for a long time, but she's never had any real good formal training. Um, you know, but we've gotten by.
Okay. So how do you want us to help you?
I think I need to figure out, how to make a profitable business. I need more work. I mean, I'm in a new area, so I think branding is huge. You know, advertising is important, but people knowing who you are, I think, is more important.
Yeah.
Um,
Advertising is useless. I'm going to repeat that. Advertising is useless unless you have a trust foundation in place,
I agree.
unless you're seen as part of the community, right? You can spend $1 million on promoting a contracting company. If you're not part of the community, if you don't have a trust foundation, you just blew $1 million on marketing. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I can.
marketing doesn't work unless you start with branding and differentiation and being part of the community first. Okay.
I,
The first thing I would do, Tim, forgive me for saying this, is I would take your motorhome and put a huge logo on the side of it and drive to the grocery store every day with a motorhome to pick up groceries. Okay. You got to be part of the community. That motorhome has to be seen at every, t-ball game, soccer game, jazz festival, rib festival, whatever it is.
it,
That
it's funny you say that because I have a very large box truck,
okay.
and I thought about paying somebody like $10 an hour just to drive it around town, everywhere. And if
Well,
I needed them to do something else, they could go do this or that.
yeah,
But if
pick
they
up
weren't
stuff.
there,
The first thing we do when we're trying to create a brand, the first thing we do is we have a courier company that rents vehicles from my clients here in Toronto or in Ottawa. They rent the vehicle and they drive it around. We create, I'm sure you've seen some of our vehicles, our Mercedes vehicles. They create about 20 leads per day. Okay.
how do you get the leads from renting the vehicles? I mean, you put your name on it or what?
Well, it's a website URL. It's about differentiation, right?
I got,
These are eye-gawking. I want to break necks and give people concussions from turning their heads too fast. That's the type of vehicle it has to look like, right? I will send you a couple of pictures so you understand what I'm talking about. But you got
yeah,
to have differentiation first. You have to have differentiation first.
I agree. That makes
Okay.
sense.
If you don't have 1,000 people talking about you, you're not doing branding, or you're not doing marketing, you're not doing anything that will elevate the conversation. You have to have at least 1,000 people talking about you, whether it's on Facebook groups or whatever it is, right? You have to have at least 1,000 people talking about you and your company,
Makes sense. No, it does.
right? Or
Absolutely.
else you're going to pay $1 million in marketing, yeah, and you don't have it.
No, no, it makes sense. I'm agreeing with you.
All right. So I made you an offer. I would work for you for free for 30 days in exchange for a bleeding testimonial. What
Okay.
is a bleeding testimonial?
Well, I think a bleeding testimonial would be to
Or falling on the sword testimonial? That's a
basic,
Japanese too.
basically, I think trying to be sincere in a video where I'm talking about your services and what you're done for us or what you're doing for us that has been life changing.
Okay.
I mean, I think that, or where we're, and if it hasn't been, where we're going, if I haven't gotten there yet, but I think that it needs to be something where it's made a big difference. I need to talk about something that's made a big difference in, what, from working with you, how it's made a positive change in our company and
Right.
in my life, I think.
Okay. So what I would ask you to do is sit down, the three of you, even though your son, don't know if he owns shares in the company or not. It doesn't matter because he's part of your company. I would sit down with the all the parties involved, certainly your wife and your son, and talk about this strategy. Watch this video, rewind, rewatch, whatever you want to do. Watch some of the other videos. There's over 500 on the YouTube channel, but make a decision. We are sick and tired of being broke, and we want to grow to 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, whatever that is, and allow my people to help you overqualify you. Okay, because you got to have a competitive advantage. What you have right now, you already know doesn't work. Right? What you have right now is giving you stress and heart attacks. So you need to overqualify yourself. You need to give yourself leverage tools, just like you can use $100,000 to buy $1 million home. A mortgage is a leverage tool. You need business leverage tools. Okay. You're not using them. You're not giving yourself an unfair advantage over your competition. When you do that, it's the difference of pushing a boulder downhill, still a heavy boulder, or pushing the boulder uphill. Right now, for the past 30 years or 25 years, you've been trying to push a boulder uphill. It's not a smart move. Pushing that boulder downhill and giving yourself an unfair advantage will give you the results that you're looking for. It's not miraculous. It's not going to happen overnight. I'm going to ask you to work 16-hour days. I'm going to ask you to, hire at least 3 VAs, social media managers, because you're not doing the shit you should be doing. Okay? You're not. I can see it. And because you're not doing it, you're not getting the results. Okay? I would suggest that you think about, on the residential side, you build a brand to build custom homes. Overqualify yourself. And if you get, 50 bathrooms, ensuite bathrooms to build, and by the way, in Florida, the average should be about $150,000 per bathroom. Okay. If you attract the right clientele, even if you build $80,000 bathrooms and you have 10 or 15 or 20 of those, and you have one crew, all they do is build bathrooms, right? Then they become efficient at it. You can't do one thing one day, then another thing the next day, and another thing the next day, and you don't have the right tools, you don't have the right people, you don't have the right efficiencies. You need to create a cookie cutter type formula. Okay. So that crew only builds ensuite bathrooms, very high end ensuite bathrooms. Okay. On the commercial side, obviously those jobs change as they need to. But on the residential side, to control your cash flow and make sure you have the cash coming in, and I would suggest 80% residential, 20% commercial. Eventually, when you put some cash in the bank account, that could reverse. But you need the cash to run this, right? And it has to be self-financing. So you can grow. 10% of each job goes towards marketing. Now you've got more cash to work with. 10% goes towards marketing. Now you've got bigger cash to work with. Does that make sense?
It does. Right?
Okay. That's how you're going to get to 5 million or $20 million in the construction industry. There is a ton of money to be made in the construction industry. You just
We
have to do it properly.
we don't, we have to start from the beginning. I mean, we don't have really any consistencies right now, any policies, any procedures. Like I said, I went up and then I sort of went down, and uh, uh, I wasn't perfect by any means, but we had a decent operation. And I told my wife, I said, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I said it seems so much harder to get back to where we were than it was the first time. And I don't know why it does. Maybe it's just a mindset. Maybe it's the way things change, and I haven't been willing to change. I don't know, but it seems harder now than it did when I did it the first time. And not to say I did anything great, but I mean, like I said, we had a pretty good operation.
Mhm.
I didn't have to do much, but coming back, you say, what do you see yourself in 5 years? I'm 55. I don't want to, I don't want to do this, until I'm 80. And, life's not about how long you live. It's how long do you have quality of life?
Right.
And, my buddy Rick Mansell had sold out at 28 million. He even sort of had it made way before then when he had his company running, because he was involved, but he never, he just came in and checked on things, and he bounced around job sites and checked on them and stuff. But every summer he took the entire summer off with his kids, all
Right.
3 months, all 3 months.
Right.
And, you know, I'm like, wow, that's nice to be able to do that. And, you know, he could do that. He could come and go as he wanted, and his operation kept moving. And, you know, so to be able to get to a point where, you know, maybe I don't have to be at my office every day, you know, 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. You know, it'd be nice to get back to some of that, you know. And, you
Right.
know, we even pull our hair out because we had 2 young kids that were in baseball and cheerleading and all this other stuff. And somehow we got it all done. And now it's like, it seems like it's harder now. We don't have half the stuff we used to have to deal with, but
Right. Because you're being left behind, because other people are starting to use the leverage tools, you're not, and you're being left behind. You can't afford that. Trust me. I
okay.
need to go. I was supposed to be on another meeting 10 minutes
I'm
ago.
sorry.
But what I would like you to do is sit down, watch this video. I'm going to send it to you. My assistant will send it to you shortly. Watch this video a couple of times. Make a decision. We're doing this, we're not doing this, but make a decision tonight, because either we start tomorrow morning or we don't start tomorrow morning. You need to make that decision. Enough wasting time. We need to make a decision. Is that fair?
That's fair. Can I ask you
All right.
one last question?
Sure, please.
How'd you get the backdrop behind you?
It's just a picture on the internet.
Oh, is it?
Yep,
So is that like a giant? I wasn't sure if it was like a green screen or if that was
it's a green
like
screen. Yeah,
oh, it is?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah. You can use it yourself. If you want the picture, I'll send it to you. But
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
all right, we'll talk later on this evening. Send me an email on Facebook, please. All right.
I will.
All
Uh-huh.
right. Take care. Bye.